This is two grumpy people on the road again, or still, or however you want to look at it.
And today we're talking about Tombstone, one of our favorite places to visit, and that's actually where our road trip started. So it's not our .1 start, it's our what? Negative one.
Negative one start. This is the beginning of the beginning.
The beginning of the beginning, or the beginning of the beginning. I'm not sure.
Something along those lines.
Okay.
But it's Arizona. So, as you know, Arizona is a nice warm place. So if you're hearing a little bit of background noise, that's just us trying to stay cool inside our camper.
Unfortunately, it is much too hot to do anything outside.
But we did go outside.
Well, I mean, this is like our fourth, I think, visit to Tombstone.
Third or fourth, somewhere around there.
Once when you were quite young, and then again, and then Christmas, and then one final visit when we wanted to
start the trip. So yeah, this is the fourth time we've been to Tombstone, Arizona.
Yep. So and we still haven't done everything there, which is really weird considering how small it is. I mean, Tombstone itself is a little bit bigger than you might think, but
yeah,
the part that is the tourist attraction where everybody wants to go is like 3 blocks. Essentially.
Yeah, it's one strip, the main strip. And
one long strip, and then
there's a few things out and about throughout the place.
I mean, and most of the whole town is historic in some sense or another, but it's not really part of the tourist draw. So, obviously everybody associates Tombstone with the OK Corral, the Earp Brothers,
and everything that's within the infamous film Tombstone, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
So you either know your history or you've seen the movie. So, either way, you know the famous shootout at the OK Corral.
Which is probably not entirely accurate, but that's another issue.
Wow.
Yeah, whatever. History, it's always told by the people who live to write it down, right? So, okay, so let's talk about some of the places that we visited while we were there. Talk about the OK Corral. We actually went to the OK Corral Museum and show.
Yes, that was an interesting one. This is the one where they tried to keep it closer to what you see in the film, which is closer to fact than some of the other shoot-'em-up shows that they have around there.
Yeah, and you know, because it is the more touristy one and it's a little bit more expensive than the other ones, the previous visits we did not go to the actual OK Corral. We went to one of the other 2 shows.
Yes.
So this one we decided to go ahead and check that one out too and give them a chance. And actually, I'm kind of glad we did, even though
I'm very happy about it. You know, all in all, it was a great experience. Prior to the actual show part, there is this wonderful little area we can go through. We have some of the old buildings from back in the day, so you can see some stuff you wouldn't see if you hadn't gone to that. As well as they have a little statuesque characters, figurines standing outside, regular height, reenacting every few minutes the actual what happened, historically accurate scene.
Yeah, I mean, I like they have this one area where you walk through and they've like recreated a couple of rooms from the Old West days, and one of them is, of course, one of the rooms of the soiled doves, or the prostitutes of the day, and they have some information there about, you know, what their life was really like as opposed to what people always assume it was like, and so that was kind of a really neat. So
it was very fascinating for anyone who hadn't already seen that kind of thing.
Yeah, for real. And I like the where they have all the old buggies and carts set up there.
Yes, that was really cool.
And they have a couple that you can actually go up on and, you know, sit in and take a picture. And I know we took pictures, but I don't know what I did with those pictures. We'll have to find.
We'll have to find those.
Yeah,
they also had a little bit of a town set. Well, not a town. They had like a blacksmith shop set up there too as well, so you can see an actual blacksmith in action.
You know, what's kind of interesting is that museum is set up on the site where the old OK Corral was, but it's also set up because they sort of bought more of the area around it, so it subsumes the area where the actual fight took place, even though the fight didn't take place at the corral.
No.
It took place in an alley behind or between the corral and the butcher shop.
All that good stuff.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because, you know, because the arrangement of the town has actually changed, like towns do, of course. Yeah. They grow and they move and they change. So, and the old the old photography studio is
Yes,
there.
the old photography studio, which is also very interesting.
And you can actually get them to actually take your photo.
With the actual same kind of equipment that they used
Yeah,
back in the day.
as
which is
opposed
really-
to what they have on the other streets, which is the dress up, just like they have anywhere at any mall. We dress up in Western wear.
any
stuff.
old West town.
This is really literally an old West photo.
An actual, yeah, you can say, hey, look, this actually came from the 1800s.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So that one was really worth it. The show was entertaining. I like the show with the other one better, but just for more entertainment value. The
Yeah.
one at the actual corral was a little more true to the popular stories of the gunfight at the OK Corral.
Oh, yeah.
So they try to keep, I mean, and even they kind of ham it up a little and make fun and don't take it too seriously. I think they kind of realize that they're selling it to tourists who are not that much interested in history so much as having a
They
good
know
time.
what most people going there have already heard and seen and what their expectations are.
And a lot of us have gone several times, so you've seen the shows, you know the lines, and they kind of play with the audience, you know.
Yeah.
Every now and then the audience will throw out one of the lines because they already know it, and so then they'll throw back something like, "Oh, who's the actor here?" or something like that, you know. So that makes it fun for me. For me, some people may feel that it spoils the show, but for me.
But the whole thing is these are all live shows, so the interactivity is something they like to play up.
Yeah.
Because it is, at least to some of us, funner that way.
The only thing, word of caution I would have about the shows like that is if you have little ones.
Oh yes, because they actually do fire weapons, so it actually does get quite loud and smoky for anyone who is not expecting that.
And they're not cap guns, they're actual blanks, so they're quite loud.
Yeah, so that, you know, these are actual period weapons and actual all that good stuff.
Yeah. And you know, I think it's kind of amazing they've never had an accident in all these years, because a lot of towns who have these live gunfighter shows have had accidents over the years where live round accidentally got used and someone got hurt. And from what I could discover online, I may be wrong, I may have to do some more research, but we didn't find any evidence there's ever been an accident. So that's kind of
At least not enough to really draw attention to it.
yeah.
Else.
I mean, yeah, it might have been an accident with this actor's on stage or something like that.
Yeah, nothing infamous. So far.
The OK Corral Museum one also has the one thing that you really like.
I was very surprised by, actually, was the diorama, which was, it's a separate, you can get it, the show and the diorama separate ticketed or together, and it's a better deal though if you get them together.
Yeah.
I was expecting when I went in there to be more of just a film clip reel that plays on a big projection screen. We're like, well, we're going to get it because it's a slightly better deal. It's not going to be that entertaining. We go inside, and it's an actual stage with models that actually rotate and they light them up special. And
Yeah, that part of it kind of got me too, because when you hear diorama, you think of fixed, just a diorama like you would see in a museum where it's already set up and it just sits there.
yeah, it's
Whereas
just
this one actually has moving components and lights and things, which kind of makes it fun.
a multi-sided triangle type model setup that rotates to show off different elements of time. And there was little figurines and stuff within it that would move as well, which was also a nice touch.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I wouldn't say it's quite Disney level, but it's a little bit higher than your standard small town museum.
Yeah, 1965 World's Fair.
Yeah, something like that.
Standards by their standards. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and what it does, it talks about the history of the town, how it got its name, of the Good Enough Mine and the other mines in the area.
Yes.
So it's really not concentrating so much on the OK Corral. It's concentrating more
On
on
the
the
town's
actual
history.
of the town. Yeah.
In general.
So well-named Historama makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you go, it does what it was like. Is it every half hour it shows, or every hour or something like that?
Something like, yeah, every 45 minutes I think it was.
So you may end up standing around waiting for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, unless you're on a tight itinerary, come and go, it's worth waiting around for.
Also, you can do it before or after the gun show.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to buy it for a specific time.
So the other one, I think we should go ahead and talk about the other one, since it kind of
Flows into it, yeah.
The Eldorado Western Town theme park.
It is a nice little area. It is a cute little area. They have set up a little old westerny style town. It's a bit more, what would you say, side of the road kind of attraction type
feels
place.
Very much like a side of the road, old-fashioned, attraction that you would stop at. They have like the stick your head face in the cutouts thing. They have the coffin that you can stand in to take your picture.
They have miniature golf.
They have miniature golf. They have
a shoot 'em up arcade as well.
Okay, and then they have like the mock jail that you can go in.
Yeah, the mock jail. Help! I'm in a jail cell.
Kind of cool.
As well as they have their own little cantina type restaurant bar type thing.
And they have the thing set up where you can pan for gold.
Oh yeah, the panning for gold.
So,
all that
like
good
you see
stuff.
in a lot of places.
All that really is something to keep you in that area until the show comes back.
Yeah, really. That's
The show plays a few times a day, just like the other gun show, but this one's a bit more comedy centric.
The show's messed up anyway. Should I give him 2?
Yeah!
All right. Who was it that wanted me to give him a bullet? Who was that? Who called that out? I'll give him 2 just for you. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I liked it more.
I
It was
loved
fun.
it. It was
a lot
awesome.
of fun. The guys were really on point. They really played with the audience a lot. We had guys there from New York and England or something, Australia.
Yeah, Australia. I remember
So
that.
they were, those guys were throwing out little comedy lines to the actors, and the actors were swatting them right back. So that was pretty cool. And one of the actors actually he went off script. He made a mistake. He went in the wrong building. So they just went with it, and they just made it part of the show. And it was kind of fun.
They know how to have fun with their audience.
I'll probably insert a bit of that video in here so you can see what I'm talking about, because it was fun.
That's hilarious.
Stops right there. Get it. There's a gun in there. The gun is in the gun shop.
He's way off.
Script on this. It's not a real outhouse.
Alright, Jim's got a script, go in the bar. If he comes out and gets a gun, y'all let us know, alright?
It was a great show.
One of the things about the Eldorado show is every year they have the big Eldorado Days.
Yeah, Eldorado Days.
Yeah, and it's huge. And when they do, there's another whole section. If you go to the back of the mini golf area and you look over the fence there, you'll see another huge section that isn't being used. During Eldorado Days, obviously, they get a lot more business and they have more activities and things like that.
Oh yeah.
I would love to go to that, but time doesn't work out.
Not always, but we did get to see the show and it was amazing.
Highly recommended of the 2. Now there was another
A third show.
Yeah, a third show we had gone to previously. It actually burnt down, and this is the second time it has burnt to the ground.
Within a year of us going, it had burnt down.
I mean, you can still see the burnt wood and stuff there.
But it's the kind of thing that happens in towns.
Especially in a town that's built almost entirely of wood.
Yeah, it's built in the 1860s
in the
style.
Southwest,
So
where it's hot and dry.
things like this happen. But that's why they need more of us visitors.
Yeah.
So they can rebuild it.
They said they were rebuilding it, so by now it may even be rebuilt. I mean, it's not that complex a thing to build. But that's something just to keep in mind. There's actually 3 shows. And then they occasionally also have street shows.
Yes.
And they have the big, they have a lot of different events all through the years. Like they have the gunfighters.
Yep.
I can't even remember all the different ones that they have. But they have a lot of different special occasions. And during those, they have other shows set up. You can go take part in. Well, you can't take part. Most of the time, you can't take part in this.
And it's be more enveloping.
Probably
than a
wouldn't be
stage
welcome
show.
for you to bring your own gun to the show.
It is Arizona.
Arizona. Well, the Gunslingers one, you actually can register and participate because they have contests and things like that. So if you know how to shoot a gun very well and you want to compete against some world-class gunslingers, there's a chance. And they are world-class too. They come from all over the world.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, so another thing
Continuing on.
that we really liked when we were there is a much more historical thing, and that's the courthouse state park.
the state park. It's the state park is about the size of our RV.
Slightly larger than the RV.
Not by a lot.
No, it's actually just the courthouse and the courthouse grounds is
Yeah.
the state park, which is it's gotta be.
You
one
can
of
measure the
smallest
state
parks.
park with a tape measure.
Probably yeah, one of the long ones. But we felt it was really worth it. We go to a lot of these, small town museum type
Yes.
things.
But this one,
It surprised me.
yeah, because you expect it to have a lot of history, which it does, obviously. But the history that it had was a bit more involved than we expected.
And it has a lot. It's large. It's like I think it may be a police box. I could be wrong because it seems much larger on the inside. It's quite. Well, it has 2 or 3 floors above ground, and then there's the basement level too.
Yeah.
So it looks small outside, but actually when you go in, there's quite a bit to see. There's quite a few rooms.
Yeah, there's quite a bit, as well as there's the gallows section,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, the gallows out there are not the original gallows anymore.
They almost look it though.
Yeah, the original gallows burnt down.
Yeah.
So they rebuilt them. Now, when they rebuilt them, they had intended to still use them. However, right around that time, the county seat got moved to Bisbee, and also all of the capital punishment moved to the state. So they were no longer doing it there. So they rebuilt the gallows. They never got used, but they were official law enforcement gallows. They're not just there just as
Yeah, they're not just a prop.
But they are looking to rebuild. The stairs to the gallows right now are damaged, so they're looking to get those.
The structural integrity of the gallows is a little down right now, but they're trying to get that fixed. The other thing with this museum is it's more historically, I mean, obviously it is historically accurate, but it's also a little bit less touristy than some of the other things that you can do in the town.
In fact, they really only have one area that's dedicated to the whole OK Corral, Wyatt Earp saga, and that's the actual courthouse, the courtroom.
Yeah, the courtroom where
they have like the actual showing, like a video, audio production to tell you about the things that were actually done during their trial.
Yes.
So this is actually historically accurate about that whole incident, more than just the what you see on TV,
who shot
action
first.
and stuff. Yeah, it's more like, oh, well, this is what happened when they went to court, and these are the people that got involved, and this is how the politics played a part.
Yeah.
So, who accused who of cheating and so forth. So it kind of gives you another insight, I think, because everybody sort of views the Earps are the good guys, the Cowboys are the bad guys, and it's very black and white when you see it in the movies. But in reality, as in most reality, things get a little fuzzier, and there were legitimate complaints that people have.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. But I like the other parts of that courthouse too.
Yeah, there was a lot of interesting parts. I found very interesting, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember there was a section also where there was like windows that each one was dedicated or something along those lines by different people and stuff. So each window had a little plaque on it that said, "Brought to you by such and such estate," or something of that nature.
Yeah. I think I don't know if those were contributors to the museum or if those were historical figures. I'm not really sure about that.
We meant to do some research on it, but we kind of forgot.
Yeah, there was so much on this one.
But I found that interesting.
Yeah, I like the demonstration on the. Got her name. I'm gonna have to look it up now.
Oh, goodness.
There was a woman.
It'll be on the screen.
Oh yeah. There was a woman. Maybe I even took a picture. I don't know. But they went all into her life story. And I mean, this is a real person. This is not it's not some Belle Star. She was a bad guy person. She was a real woman at the time who had just an incredible life and ended up becoming a pretty successful businesswoman. Which, if you know the era, that was incredibly rare in the first place. But just a really, when you go there, check out her story. That'll be kind of a treat for you, I think. And the saddle. The saddle was fun to sit in.
Oh, the saddle.
We both had to do it. We're such children. They put the saddle there. They said try it out.
We did.
We tried it.
But yeah, if you're really into the Southwest history and time. There's a lot of stuff like the types of barbed wire they used back in the day, and the different leathers and tools that the blacksmiths would use, and all kinds of things of that nature as well. So if you're into that, it's another thing to see while you're at the museum.
I mean, that is kind of weird to think, but even just looking at how barbed wire progressed, how it went from its original form to its later forms, and some of the story about, you know, the fights between the sheep ranchers and the cattle ranchers, and why they use the different kinds of barbed wire. And some of them you look at, you go, I can understand why nobody wanted this stuff. That stuff looks evil. It's not our modern day barbed wire at all, but yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's not something you would expect to see the history of barbed wire.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there you might. How much do they have to tell? But they have a lot of history in that town besides the stupid OK Corral. Shouldn't say stupid, but
stupid OK Corral. Now we're never allowed back.
No, now they'll never let us come back. But I mean, that's what everybody talks about, and you're like, okay, but what else?
The overemphasized.
Yeah.
OK Corral shootout.
So it almost becomes cliche, I guess.
It does. I think they feel that way too sometimes.
I do too. I think they're like, you know, we have other things in this town. You know, we're named for a mine, right? Okay, a miner named this town. Okay.
Speaking of
we
mines,
existed before the herbs, and they continue to exist after the herbs. So obviously, they have history beyond the herbs.
Speaking of mines, though,
yes,
we did go go found a mine.
Wasn't hard.
It's a big sign over it.
We're geniuses.
But we went on the Good Enough Mine Tour.
Yes.
Part of the Good Enough Mine, obviously.
And we do love our caves and our mines, and we like going down in those kind of things. But this is the first time we had gone in the mine tour.
Yes.
Whatever. I don't know why.
Tombstone.
We've been there several times, but we hadn't gone in it before.
It's one of the ones that's a little bit more off to the side.
Yeah. Not that much though. It's just like right around the corner. There are 2 or 3 other things in that same little area.
It's true.
You can get the ticket to that as part of a package deal, like the trolley.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. It was near the trolley.
That one and the El Dorado. They have these package deals where you can buy several tickets together, and it saves you a little bit of money.
They all work together down there.
Yeah, they know where their money is. They're not foolish. So the Good Enough Mine Tour, it's a real mine. It's one of the major mines, one of the ones that was owned by the guy who originally founded the town and named it. And actually it's 2 mines, it's the Good Enough and the Tough Enough mine.
Oh yeah, that's right, there's 2 parts
but
to it.
it's run as, it goes under the Good Enough Mine Tours name.
Yeah.
And so on the outside, when you're waiting to go down the mine, there's a lot of equipment there. You can take a look at old mining equipment, old mining cars, things like that. Pretty cool. I have lots of pictures of them. So once you've done that, you get your little hard hat, and I would make this recommendation. Bring your own hard hat, because those things have been sitting there a while, and I don't see them wiping them down with Lysol or anything in between customers. I'm just saying. We didn't. No, it feels okay. Okay. I don't think I have anything. But yeah, I'd recommend bringing your own if you have one already.
Or if you're a little skeevy about that kind of thing.
Yeah. Or either that or bring your little bottle of spray stuff.
Hand wipes, something.
Something, yeah. They have a couple of different sizes.
Yeah, they try to have a good selection of them. And they have a little bar where you go and they pick out the one that fits you best and stuff like that.
So you get your little helmet and you follow the guy down, and it is not wheelchair accessible, obviously.
It is about as wheelchair accessible as, oh, I don't know, the top of Mount Everest.
Oh, God. It's not that bad. We've been in worse ones.
Well, there's no ramps, there's only stairs.
There's only stairs. I mean, to where the ground ramps, it's still gravelly and uneven and, yeah, not intended for people in wheelchairs. So you have to have at least minimal mobility to go on it. It's possible if you had like a cane or a walker, you might could do it. I think you would at least have to have someone with you who's more capable, just in case.
Making it down to the entrance of it is a lot easier than once you're in it, because once you're in it, there's a lot of stairs and low headroom, like you might find in a cave.
Yeah, I mean, it is a mine. It's an actual mine. They mine down there for a long time. even after it was closed because silver prices dropped.
Yeah.
And then the U.S. government for a while operated it. I think it was during the war or something like that.
That makes sense.
But then again, silver prices dropped significantly, and the government shut it down. And then it was just sitting idle for a long time, and locals used it as a hangout, of course. Threw trash in it. It got filled in with backfill and dirt and stuff. So the new owners had to go through and clean all that out, and they had to do it all by hand. So that's kind of interesting to realize how much stuff they literally had to go in there and haul out in sacks and wheelbarrows, and they were really difficult terrain. So you know they really broke a sweat on that one. There are a few items down there that they'll point out to you that are still left from the old mining days and from the in-between days. They'll point out things to you like a bean can or a helmet with the old candle light fixture on there. And it's kind of interesting to also think about how those guys, when they first founded that town, that was the old-fashioned mining. I mean, they were down there with candles and hand chisels, chiseling this stuff.
Yeah.
Bit by bit by bit, chiseling out a hole just to put the dynamite in. It was very, very dangerous. It was backbreaking. They were among the highest paid workers in town, but they also tended to spend their money pretty quick, apparently.
So we were talking about the Good Enough Mine Tours, and you were talking about they had the old tools and stuff. What I thought was interesting the most about the mine tour was before you went down in there, he gave a little presentation
that's right.
with the block of stone there, and he was showing how they would chisel it out and just how hard it would be to chisel out.
He was pretty fast at it. I don't think I could do it as fast as he did.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, he was like, did it super fast, and then he's like, yeah, and these guys make me look like a fighter, and I'm like, okay, I don't think I could have done it. Beyond that, let's talk about the trolley tour that we took.
Yeah, that flows since we did that right afterwards.
Yeah.
The trolley tour was interesting, informative.
The best thing about it is you're sitting down.
And there's usually a fan or something on, so it's cool.
For me, it wasn't, I don't know, it was kind of not disappointing, I guess. It's what you expect from one of these little trolley tours. I had already done an awful lot of research and seen a lot of programs, and we visited a few times before by the time we took it. So there wasn't a lot new in the trolley tour that we hadn't gotten by visiting the various locations. I think maybe if you did that first,
that would be a good initiation to the town, because the other thing is a lot of these towns will cover some of the overlap information.
Yeah,
some of the same information overlapping. So the trolley tour is a big, good overall one, and then you go to the individual attractions, which will cover theirs, and so they'll take you on each one.
Yeah, the trolley tour would be a great way to say, okay, that's something I want to go back and visit. That's something I want to go back and visit. And I don't need that.
Exactly.
But if you've already gone to several of those sites, you've heard their spiel, you've heard the same history, the same points that they point out, and then you get on the trolley and they're saying the same thing. Plus, I thought that you didn't get as good a view from the trolley as you would have expected. I mean, you can almost get a better view just driving.
It basically is just driving through the town with a tour guide.
It is, but I don't think they always get, great views. Like usually on a trolley tour or whatever tour, they always try to figure out what angle is going to be best for the tourist to get a good view of it and maybe take a picture, and they'll maybe make sure that they stop or slow down. I didn't find that they really did that much on that tour.
No, there wasn't a whole lot of that kind of thing going on.
I don't think I got any pictures. I took my camera, but I don't think I took any pictures on the trolley tour.
I might have taken one of the trolley. That's about it. Not to say that our guide was bad.
No, he was very informative.
And kind of funny.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
But the overall trolley tours experience as a whole. First time being there is your first attraction, or whatever you want to call it, I would say yes. But if you've already been there once or twice, and you've already started to do some of the other things, it may be less
Probably.
informative.
The only good thing about it is it does drive you past some of the locations that aren't really places that you're going to go visit, but have some historical
This is true.
importance. Like various people's homes and things. You know, people still live in those same houses, so you can't go and visit their
Yeah.
home. But they'll say, oh, this was the first mayor, this was the first governor, blah, blah, blah.
All
This
that
is where so-and-so lived, this is where Wyatt Earp lived, this is where his girlfriend lived. So, that's kind of interesting. The other tour that you can get is the stagecoach tours, or stagecoach rides. They actually are tours. They have a guy up there going by who's talking, but you're riding around in a stagecoach instead of a trolley.
As well as those ones actually are allowed in the main drag area. That's another big thing that differentiates it. The main strip of town, the big tourist trap area, if you want to call it that, is actually kind of roped off to most vehicular traffic.
They have those sawhorses there blocking traffic on either end. So the only people allowed, only foot traffic and horses are allowed on that.
And the stagecoaches are allowed for that reason.
So yeah, you do get that, and it's just fun riding in on that old-fashioned stagecoach.
You do get that little bit of an atmosphere.
It is shorter
This is
and
true.
has fewer things on it. So there's a trade-off there.
So if one of those ride-around tours is not your first thing of the day, I would pick the stagecoach over the trolley.
If you have kids with you too, I'm guessing the kids would much rather do the stagecoach. If you're older and you're more interested in history, or maybe you want to get something that you know is in town, or you want an overview of the town, you might go with the trolley. Okay. One of our favorite things, and this is something I had done years and years ago, and never visited, and never realized I was in Tombstone proper and could have visited Tombstone proper. When I was just a kid, we went to Blue Hill.
Yes.
And I did not know, because I was a kid.
It's separated from the main town, which, for it being a cemetery, you know, it's kind of expected, I suppose.
Well, they didn't have much choice. The cemetery was there. They didn't move the cemetery.
Well,
it's not a tourist attraction per se.
But a lot of cemeteries aren't necessarily built in the middle of towns either.
Yeah.
So, but it's a little bit separated from it. But it is also a Tombstone attraction.
Yeah.
Obviously.
It's not that separated. I mean, it's not on the main drag, but it's still within that same little.
I mean, it's not
area.
like it's in the next town over kind of distance.
It's
just
very close to the Wyatt Earp house.
Yes.
The Wyatt Earp, which we didn't visit. We just went to the outside of it, but
drove past
it's very close. It's like a block or two away.
Yeah.
It's an actual cemetery, obviously, from that time period. It's actually called the Jewish cemetery, Jewish and something cemetery, because originally that hill area was the Jewish community's burial area. There were different, all the churches and everything had their own burial areas, but that ended up becoming sort of the community burial area for a while. And so one of the things that we found out it's no longer it used to be privately owned, and now it's owned by the city, I guess, city, county, state. But it's public land now, so you can go and visit and take photos. There's no fee to go. They do ask that you be
respectful, obviously. I mean, it is an actual grave site where there's actual people buried.
One of the things I like about it is because it has gone back into state hands and everything, and you know the town has taken it over. It's much more respectful than it had. There for a while, when I visited as a child, it was very touristy, and I don't think it was being properly cared for. Nobody really cared about the historical fact. I think they added some tombstones of the funny sort, just to try to get more tourist attraction in there. And now it's more. They're actually making an effort to identify the remains, properly mark them.
That's one of the biggest issues with that grave site is being able to keep a clear record of who all is there, and keep it clearly marked, because weather is not very kind to cemeteries.
And especially in that area, a lot of the graves are marked with just like a board. You would get a board from someone's barn or something and shove it in the ground, paint on it, or scratch into it. And obviously with weathering, that just disappears. Also, what they said was a lot of those tombstones and the boards got taken from the gravesite and taken to people's homes. They found tombstones and grave markers in people's garages, in their basements, in their, one person had actually used one of the boards in building something else. So, a lot of the graves were unmarked for a long time, and they're making an effort to try to get all of them back and properly
labeled and everything else. They do have for anyone who's really interested, they do have a handout which does help indicate which ones are which, so it's a little bit easier.
And they don't even charge for that, they just ask for a donation.
Yeah.
I think that some of the famous people who are there, let's see, my mind is going blank now. None of the Earps are buried there.
No.
It's all there are cowboys. There's a few cowboys who are there. Old man, I can't think of his name now. The one whose home we went to visit. Can't remember. But they're
People.
Yeah. But they have some of the old famous funny tombstone mark.
This is true.
The rook shot by a Chinaman. That's a famous one.
Yep.
And then here lies Lester Moore, Forest Loves Omar 44, no less, no more. Everybody loves that one. That one is there. So they have some of those there. I love the one that says, he was right, we were wrong. They basically, they hung somebody and then they realized they were wrong. So they put that on the tombstone. Sorry. Oops. Tells you something about, Western justice back in the day.
It is also one of the spots, just to go back and track a little bit, it is also on the trolley tour as well. They do drive out that way.
They drive out, but they don't stop.
No, they just drive out, so you see, here's where it is, so you know where it is.
There's also a marker there to the fallen military. It's located near the front of the cemetery. There's actually a lot more graves than you see in the main park, where you go there behind the little building and you look at that are on the very top of the hill. That's just a handful of the actual graves. There are many more in the area. A lot of them are unmarked. If you want to find them, there are local people who can provide you maps and guidance and stuff, but it will require some hiking and some planning.
Yeah.
So it's not something you want to do unless you have a day to do that sort of thing, and that's when you're into that.
It's really involved.
Yeah. But there are some others graves in there.
It is a cemetery on top of a hill in southwest Arizona, so it does get quite warm and dry. So they have a nice little seating area right as you go outside from the building, where they have those people set up and stuff like that. If you need to take a minute and sit down and rest.
Or if you have a member of your party, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. And they have a little gift shop there. Buy stuff. Okay. The Rose Museum. That was another one that we really liked. That's kind of off of, is it up the street from the Good Enough line, or is it up? Anyway, it's off on the street.
Yeah, there's a lot of little streets that lead to the different side roads.
I think it's one of those things about Tombstone that has nothing to do with the OK Corral, and a lot of people don't realize it's there. So that's what makes it really cool.
But it's really well known still.
Yeah, it is. But among a completely different group of people.
It's what's funny about it.
It's been featured on the Travel Channel, among other things. It is the world's largest rose bush.
And when they say world's largest,
I'm not kidding.
they are not kidding. It creates a canopy above your head. You go under there and you almost feel like you're in a basement or something, because you got these stanchions everywhere, these poles everywhere. 6-foot-high ceiling, and above you is literally nothing but the rose bush. In the center of all this is, I do not remember the diameter, but it's a large trunk for a bush.
Yeah. And look, it smells gorgeous in there. I mean, even when we went when it wasn't particularly flowering. And I mean, the smell is just overwhelming, and the petals get all on the ground, just completely cover the
It's a
ground.
gorgeous little area.
And it just, oh, it smells horrible.
And then there's a yard slightly beyond it so that you can go out and get pictures of it. There's they built a little area we can go up, climb up a little bit, so you can see the top of it and actually see the top of it.
What I thought was really cool is we talked to the owner a little bit, or the manager, and they were saying, you know, they rent it out for weddings, so that would be really.
It looks
can you
like
imagine
a
if it was
great
flowering
view
and you were under it?
Oh yes.
That would be really cool.
But there's also another museum
Yeah.
that you go through besides the actual rose.
Right. You're not just paying to go look at a rose. You're going in to see a museum and a rose.
They feature a rose that features this huge rose.
No, it's the 1840 museum, something like that. I forgot what it's called, but so it's the Rose Museum and the 18 whatever it is museum, and so it's kind of dedicated to the history of the area at that time period. So there's all kind of, it's like China. They have it all.
Well, one of my, they had a lot of different things. Some things from wartime as well.
Yeah.
But the thing I found, the exhibit I found the most interesting was the exhibit of blocks.
Oh yeah, that was.
It was
really
just
cool.
a wall of basically any kind of lock you could ever imagine from different time periods, which I found fascinating. I don't know why.
They had a few clocks that were really
They
cool.
had some really nice clocks and
They
stuff.
had the ones that, you know, where they tell the date as well as the time and stuff.
Which
And
I
stuff
thought
like
was
that.
very fascinating for an old-fashioned style.
So yeah, that was a really cute little museum, and I think it was well worth the entry fee to get in there. And it just smells so good. Oh,
Which, by the way, the entry fee isn't much.
no, it's not. None of these places are really particularly expensive. The one thing that caught us off guard, though, was prepared to have cash.
Oh yes,
A
it's
lot
a
of
very old-fashioned town for a very.
Yeah, even the courthouse, no plastic. You gotta have cash.
Yes, the ATM fees will get you.
Yeah, have your cash in hand already, so you don't have to go back and forth. We went to, where was the bank or whatever? Oh, inside the restaurants, the two big restaurants that both of us went to. They
Yes.
both have ATMs in there.
Yeah.
Someone
That's-
had pointed out there was a store that had them, but it didn't open until later in the day. So,
Yeah, something along those lines.
yeah. Big Nose Kate's and the Longhorn. Both have ATMs. If you're there, you're free cash.
They're one of the few places that's taking credit.
There's a bank in town also. I'm not saying.
Yeah, well, yeah,
There
they're
is.
not desolate out there, but it's just most of the actual attractions and stuff.
Yeah, you'd have to leave that area to go to actual town, part of town, to go to the bank.
The modern part of town.
Probably a mile or so away. Not terribly far if you're in a car, but if you're walking,
Yeah, it kind of throws off the fun though.
yeah, it does. It takes time out of your day.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that in advance. That way you don't have to worry about going and finding cash later.
Yeah, make sure you bring
We
home
did.
quite a bit of cash.
You went to the courthouse and then had to leave, go find some cash, and then come back. So,
That's a hassle.
yeah.
All right.
So since we brought them up, why don't we talk about the two restaurants that we ate at?
All right. So our first night there, you know, we were thinking about, okay, where are we gonna have for dinner? Well, there's a lot of restaurants and cantinas and stuff like that in
Yeah,
the area.
there are quite a few little eateries.
There's a lot of cantinas in the area, I found out. But I was like, well, I saw a sign for this place, the Longhorn, that sounds good. You thought I meant the chain.
Why would you name your restaurant the same thing that a national chain is called? I don't understand.
But this is the Longhorn Restaurant and Steakhouse.
So it's the Longhorn Steak? I don't understand that at all.
But I decided that sounded good. So we went there and it was good.
It was okay.
There was a scout troop there.
Not worth the price charge, though.
Yeah, they went a little on the price tag. I mean, I know it's a tourist town, and they're trying to get what they can. On the
We
other
didn't
hand,
order steak,
no, we didn't. We ordered
and we paid like $50 or $60.
between us, two people. I mean, the only thing that we got that was in any way considered exorbitant would be the one drink I got.
That's the one thing that we can say about this thing.
Yep, this nice little glass here.
They had several flavors, and we got
The prickly pear
prickly
cactus.
pear. That's what it was. Yes.
Yes, the prickly pear cactus. Darn it.
Drink.
Yes, drink. We'll just leave it a drink. I was going to say what it was, but now I forgot.
It wasn't a pina colada.
No, it was margarita.
Margarita. There, the pina colada margarita.
Yeah.
No, not pina colada.
Okay.
Prickly.
Pear margarita, which came in this nice glass. I didn't keep the one that the drink came in. They brought you a fresh one to take home if you get the glass.
And that was the best thing about it.
That's the sad fact.
I didn't. The drink was okay. It was too sweet for me.
Yes.
Prickly pear is kind of sweet.
It was a bit strong. But, you know, if you look at the size of this glass, it's the size of my hand here, full. So you get quite a bit of drink with that.
Yeah.
And, you know, between the two of us, we couldn't finish it.
Yeah. No. But then again, neither of us are big drinkers.
That's true. It tasted good, though.
It tasted really good. It was just, for me, it was too sweet.
I found it okay. We went, it was about 7 o'clock at night. That's one of the reasons why we went to restaurants, because the whole town shuts down by 5 or 6. Just so you know.
Yeah.
It's not a late night town. It's more of a morning, early afternoon town.
Well, the bars.
Yeah,
stay
the
open.
restaurants and bars and stuff will be outside of that. But the stores and attractions and stuff, sunrise to sunset, that's about it. 7 o'clock at night, we went to the restaurant, so we expected to have pretty easy service.
Yeah.
We were waiting around a bit for a waiter a few times.
Yeah. They were not.
And there weren't too many other people in there. There was one other big group of Boy Scouts there. But beyond that, there really wasn't anyone else in there, hardly.
Yeah, I found the food so-so.
Yeah, the
price
food
was
was
high.
okay.
The service kind of
Lackluster.
Yeah. It is a beautiful building. I love the windows and all the glasswork that they have in there. And of course everybody dresses in period costumes. So that's nice.
We heard it's much better at breakfast, but we did not return.
Yeah. Everybody pretty much was selling the breakfast, and so maybe that's when we should have gone.
Yeah. But then the next day, we decided to have lunch. And we picked the famous or most famous restaurant in the area.
Restaurant, the one everybody knows, and there's a reason.
It's Big Nose Kate's Saloon.
Yes, and they are a saloon, but they have a full-service restaurant as well.
Yes. Live music, which was really nice.
Yeah, the person who was performing that day was actually very talented.
If we had had extra money, we would have obviously. It was
Yeah.
that good. But we stopped in for lunch. We ended up having enough that we could have called it dinner.
Yeah, it was way bigger servings.
We
than I
decided
expected.
just because it was a vacation, our first vacation in like a year, we decided we were going to splurge on our lunch. Appetizer and entree. Yeah, that's for 2 people. We expect, you know, we got...
We said the small, he said the large, we said nachos, he said small or large.
We
said,
said
oh, it's just appetizer, small's fine.
small, the size of her hat could have...
Yeah, it was a plate.
platter.
And it was loaded with cheese and stuff.
I mean, it was good. It was good, but we could have just had that as lunch and nothing else, and that wasn't expensive.
No. And then when they brought us our meal,
I ordered a calzone, which was about the same size as the platter of nachos. I only ate half of it, and I'm a big eater. If I hadn't had the nachos, I might have finished it. But it was like half of it was about yay big. So I mean, filling.
Yeah.
To say the least. And what did you
I
have?
don't remember now, but I put it in my online review. So check out my Facebook online review.
It was good, but it was also
I
big.
remember that was good. It was definitely very filling.
Neither of us could finish.
We ended up, getting our leftovers to go, and it was enough that we had
Lunch another day.
meal out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely worth your money. Because we spent less at Big Nose Kate's, getting essentially 3 platters.
But you know, I remember what I got at the other restaurant, because I got the barbecue sandwich.
I remember, and you were very dissatisfied
And
with
they
it.
brought barbecue sauce, so I had, and in my mind a vision of what it was going to be. And they brought all they have this really cool, they have like a 6-pack, like, you know,
I remember that.
drinks in it, with barbecue sauces in it.
So you could get whatever flavor you wish.
So I thought, well, surely with 6 flavors of barbecue sauce,
Yeah, find
one of them
one
would be
that's-
good. Yeah.
She ended up mixing, was it 3 or 4?
I mixed I mixed like 3 or 4 of them together and then added ketchup to make a barbecue sauce that tasted good to me.
That's pretty sad.
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
Yeah, Big Nose Kate's, we had a lot of food. Now, Big Nose Kate's was famous for a multitude of reasons. Specifically, Big Nose Kate.
Right now, they've got it set up selling costume items and lingerie, kind of in keeping with the idea of it being more deadly.
Yeah.
But also, when you go in the basement, ask them about their little secret, and they'll show you there's a room off to the side. It kind of looks like a little cell or something. But it used to be the room where the, I guess you could, what was he, a handyman or whatever for the building lived.
Yeah. Maintenance.
And he had a little secret of his own.
He discovered,
quite serendipitously, by looking at blueprints and so forth, that building sat over one of the mine shafts for one of the local mines. I don't remember if it was a Tough Nut or the Good Enough, but he was right over one of the shafts.
so he found his way down into it. And he started to make his life better.
Yeah. Well, he hopes to make his life better. He brought up several bags and sacks full of stuff. The funny thing is, he died. So no one found out about this right away. It wasn't until they went into that room
Later.
that they discovered that he had been. So I guess he was never caught, either that or he was caught and they had a hand in his dying and just kept it quiet. Who knows? It's an interesting little side story. Kind of fun to find out exactly how that happened and what happened.
What
to
transpired? Because that would be interesting.
him.
That's a story into itself there.
That would make it. There you go, Hollywood. There's your next movie. Forget making another movie about the OK Corral. Tell us about that guy.
That would be cool.
So that's kind of fun. Just ask them to show you their secret. Basically. Again, that would be one that you can't. You have to hit stairs. There's no way down there.
Yeah, there's no elevator.
That's one thing about these historical kind of sites. I mean, they're literally built off the old buildings that were around at the time, and they weren't handicapped.
They're not even stairs you can convert because they're an old spiral staircase.
And the courthouse is the only one that had any sort of accommodation.
Yeah, it was out of the after fact, but it is there.
Right. They have a.
But I think that's partly also because of the fact that it's a city building too.
Yeah.
So, and they have the room.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, it's a much bigger building. Most of those buildings are very small by comparison. They're old wood structures. What I thought was kind of interesting was most of that town had actually burnt down. They'd had a couple of town fires, but they had one of the really big fires. Most of the town. The only real original building left in that town is the Birdcage Theater.
Which is an attraction we did not get to visit this time.
Yeah, we didn't get to visit that particular building. I mean, we saw the outside. We didn't go inside. But, I mean, all of them are old. It was rebuilt immediately after the fire. The fire was a long, long time ago. So they are still historic buildings, but they are not the original building. They were rebuilt. That's kind of fun. Okay, so what do we have left on this list? We've pretty much covered everything, except, of course, the last thing we did there, the last thing we talked about, as night settles in, all the ghosts of Tombstone come out. Supposedly. Anyway.
Speaking of the Birdcage Theater, they actually do nighttime ghosts.
Yeah.
Ghost finder, seeker.
Maybe we should have done that one instead.
Might have been more interesting.
It was fun, I guess. I mean, the ghost tour.
We found a woman who was on the street selling the tour.
Well, she was associated with Big Nose Kate's.
Yes.
Or with someone at. Anyway,
Something like that.
And they recommended it, so.
Yeah. So every evening or after dusk, one of the last things that still goes is this ghost tour that she does. She does a walking tour, walks up and down the main drag, and points out areas where people have seen things
Yeah.
or have had experiences, we shall say. We'll leave it at that.
And they're fun. When she was doing it, I really got the impression that she was sincere. She really believes this stuff. That was my impression. I also got the impression that it's not, she hasn't really taken a very skeptical eye to some of those claims because they're a little,
If you poke and prod at them, it could burst.
they would kind of come apart. The one that really struck me as being ridiculous was the one where she took us to a site that used to be a hotel where the stairway was. Apparently this man, I mean, this is historical. His wife was cheating on him, and he showed up at the hotel to confront them, and he ended up shooting them. The part that seems silly to me, though, was he got shot in the process, and so people have said they've seen his ghost there, and so forth. The thing was, he was shot unawares. So the story that she was telling makes no sense. How would he know to be... He was unaware that the wife had been dancing with this man. So why would his spirit remember the dancing wife? It doesn't make any sense. Because he never saw her dance.
This is true.
So it's a little bit of a... kind of a goofy story. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. She took us to several sites. The bank. They told us some of the history of town that you may not otherwise know.
Yeah, there was a lot of that stopping, you know. This place used to be such and such.
Talking about Chinatown, used to be there in some of those buildings, and there used to be a hospital there where a number of people died. So, you know, that stuff was interesting. And telling us about the bank robbery that had occurred, that was pretty interesting. And, apparently, most of the bank robbers were not successful, which is funny. You typically think of the Old West bank robberies, and they weren't quite as successful as the people robbery.
Oh well.
So, that was the last thing we did. Would you recommend it?
If you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd recommend it to someone like Ben who likes that kind of stuff. I'd say, oh, yeah, do that. You'll love it. But if you're someone who's more like us, who's more skeptical,
be wary because, you know, some of the other people on it may be really into it, and if you're not taking it seriously, they could get offended.
yeah.
We kept calm about it.
Yeah, I didn't want to take away from anyone else's fun.
But in the back of both of our minds, we're sitting there going, I don't know about this story.
I don't think maybe we should have gone on this particular. But there's that. And she had a big, larger than life personality, so that kind of made it fun.
That did make it fun.
Make sure you try their sarsaparilla. It's very tasty. It's a little different than a cream soda or a root beer if you haven't had it before.
It's sold in several different places. We picked up ours at the OK Corral, but there's a lot of different places.
Didn't we get it at Eldorado?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Probably both.
Probably both.
We might have gotten
no
two.
one else. Yeah, because it was really hot.
It was also, you know, remember, it's also Southwest Arizona. It's really hot and dry.
It's really hot and dry. And they're really cold and delicious. And they run like $3 or $4 each in most of the places are selling them, unfortunately, just because it's a touristy place. I bet if you went to like one of the local stores outside of the main drag, you'd probably get it much cheaper.
And they just sell it in 4-packs.
But we have not found it too many places outside of Tombstone itself.
This is true.
So.
And there is also a lot of fudge to be had in Tombstone.
Oh yeah. And ice cream. Get an ice cream at the ice cream store.
And ice cream fudge and fudge ice cream.
Yes.
There's a lot to eat and drink in Tombstone.
Yeah.
Which is good because you're going to need to refuel your energy and being in that hot sun.
Everything's pretty much warm.
Yeah. That's the bulk of it.
Take your camera. Have a good time. Don't expect Disneyland, but just go expecting an old-fashioned, side-of-the-road kind of tourist attraction with some history to it. And have a good time.
Definitely a must-see.
Yes. One of our 4 stars. So with that, this is
2 grumpy people on the road, traveling, hitting different places.
And check back with us next time. We'll be talking about something.
Possibly something else.
Well, bye.
Yeehaw! Tombstone!
Subscribe.
Sarsaparilla! Wet your
One
whistle!
Horns
Like it
infamous.
below! Give it the thumbs up! Give it,
Cactus.
thumbing up in me
Prickly
or
pear
thumbing up the
cactus.
sarsaparilla. It's delicious. It's ice
We
cold.
need to refill our glasses.
You want it?
Give us a subscription.